So, welcome back. And at this session, maybe I might want to talk a little bit on purifications. I think yesterday there was caution as well. Through the understanding of the karma, having studied, reflected, contemplated, through the understanding of karma, then, one try to avoid engage in any kind of negative karma as much as possible. Trying to engage in as many positive karma as possible whenever is possible. Sometimes even it seems very small, insignificant, In terms of negative karma, sometimes the negative karma might seem it wouldn't hurt so much. It's such a small, but again, even it's seems like very significant at the moment, can become very significant, become a big source of problems. As Buddha said, do not be careless, even with the most ignorance, we seem very insignificant, very small negative karma, because even though it seems very small, but it can have a big damage. And he gave example, a spark, a fire, not even a fire, a spark of the fire, It's very small in terms of that, but that spark can build the whole village, in the dry conditions, in the dry conditions, with certain conditions, and what it needs is just one spark to start a huge fire that can completely destroy the whole town, whole village. So in the same way, even the negative karma, even it seems very small, insignificant, but when it's repeated very much, it can become a very big significance. In another sutra, Buddha gave same, but with a different example. He used, instead of spark, he used again poisons. At the very beginning, the poison might be very, very, very small, little, but it can start to spread all over quickly. So if you don't take it out, if you don't go to the hospital or some treatment to take it out, then it can spread all over, even though it's very small to begin with. And so therefore, with such understanding, and also we talked this morning, also the karma has these qualities of expanding it. So even though it's very small when you started, but if you keep on expanding it, after some time it becomes big, And so therefore, even it seems very small, we try to avoid it. And when it comes to positive karma, sometimes it seems very insignificant, very small. Again, even it seems small, we should try to engage as much as possible whenever it's possible. Because, again, Buddha said in one of the sutras, one drop of water seems nothing, very insignificant. But drop of water with the time can fill the whole bucket, So it can become a huge and significant with the times. And so therefore, again, even one drop of water, can become very significant with the time, with others. The same way, in the virtues. Of course, if we can create the virtues or positive karma with the right intentions, motivations, with the right, correct, the actual action itself, with the completions, with the right completions, and all of that, it is wonderful. But even when we don't have time, or we are too kind of busy, too hurried, we don't have time to really take time to do all of that. Whenever we get opportunity, even it means small, just putting your hand together, paying homage, respect to the holy objects, reciting mantras, even while you are driving or while you are doing something, reciting prayers, even though you cannot really think so well because you have to be focused on something else. So you don't have, while you are doing that, you cannot do all proper visualization, everything. But even, even just creating any opportunity we get to create virtues merit to the body, speech, mind, we try to do that, And I think that is one of the reasons why Lama Zopa Rinpoche, advise and standards and others, to have many objects as possible. Just by looking at it, just by seeing at it, just by putting your hand together, is a way of creating positive karma, virtues, merit, easily, quickly, even it is small, but when you keep on doing that, it becomes huge after some time. If you see that image whole day, then by the end of day, each drop of water has filled the bucket. Maybe seeing one time might be small when maybe whole practice is not involved. But again, even that one drop of water with the time, then it become, and again, those are, so in such, whenever we get any opportunity in whatever way, trying to engage, and again, practice of generosity, charities. Sometimes we might not have much, sometimes we might not be able to give it much, but even just one drop, even $1, even 50 cents, for example, can be very helpful in kind of continue to practice of, to support our practice of giving, generosity, and of course creating positive karma, virtues, and helping someone, in whatever small way, even though that might be very insignificant to make much difference. But again, when many 50 cents, many dollars, after some time, it makes difference, even for that other persons, so like that. So try to avoid negative karma as much as possible, and try to engage in the virtuous karma as much as possible, whenever opportunity arises, all the time. So that is going forward. In terms of going forward, you know, what about the negative karma that we have created in the past? You know, through understanding karma, the way we go forward in our life now is so that we try to avoid negative karma that hurt and harm others and oneself, and try to engage in a positive karma that help others and oneself. That is present and futures. What about the past that we have already created, knowingly, unknowingly, with intention, without intention, small, big, So what to do about that, And so again, Buddha kindly, showed the path or way to purify them, different practices to purify them. In different sources of sutras, Buddha have given different practice of purifications at different time with the different orders when he was, with the different orders, different practices in relation to purification. And so there is so many different practices. Among them, Shantideva kind of collected mainly 6 practices from different sources of sutras, in the other writing, not the guys that both are way of life, the others love the content of the training, and in that, then he has, mainly 6, and then from that, then most of the Lamrim teachings, then you find those practices, purifications, those different practice purifications. Okay. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, the purifications, Buddhism is it has to come from your side, And so in order the purification to work and to be strong purifications, then we need to practice with what we call 4 open-end powers. And when you practice whatever form of purifications, but with 4 open-end power, then that becomes very powerful practice. So in relation to that, if I read from Lama Tsongkhapa again, experience, Song of the Experience. He mentions, without engaging the cause to have a, pressure human rebirth with the right conditions to engage in our practice, is hard to make progress in your spiritual practice. And therefore, one should engage into the cause to continue to have a better rebirth, a better condition to practice the Dharma and our path. And also try to purify all the negative karma that created by 3 doors. And to do that, then he says, the most important and powerful practice for purifications is then to engage in 4 open-end power every day or continuously. So that is in that he advised to continue to engage in the virtuous actions so that we can continue to create cause and conditions to have a more progress in this life, and even we cannot make so much progress in this life to continue create the cause conditions that we can carry on the practice in next life. So conditions are there so that we can continue the path where we left this life and continue from there to make progress. In terms of that, at the same time, then try to purify all the negative karma that we have created in the past, and through the continuously through the four opening powers. So for opening power, the opening power of objects, sometimes it is known as opening power of objects, sometimes reliance, opening power of regret, opening power of resolutions, and opening power of antidotes. The opening power of the objects or the reliance is going for refuge and generating bodhicitta mind. And it is mentioned, they give examples. If you sleep on the floor in this place, maybe because it was wet and you are not paying attention, you slip and fall down. And to get up, you rely on the same floor where you fall to get up. You put your hand to the floor to get up. It's the same object that you fall, you rely on that same object to get up. In the same way, when we purify, we try to rely on the same object to whom we created negative karma in relation to. So when we create negative karma sometimes we create in relation to holy objects, Buddha, Dhamma, Sanghas. Sometimes we create negative karma in relation to sentient beings. Ordinary sentient beings or holy objects such as 3 jewels. So when we try to purify, we rely on the same objects to whom we kind of created. So in negative karma that we have created in relation to the holy objects, 3 jewels, we try to purify by taking refuge in that same objects. To purify negative karma that we have created in relation to sentient beings, we rely on the same object for purification by cultivating bodhicitta mind. So by engaging in the refuge and generating bodhicitta mind, then we try to purify all the negative karma that we have created, either in relation to the holy object or either in relation to sentient beings, by relying on the same objects, by cultivating, by generating, going for refuge and generating bodhicitta mind. Okay, so that is the first, the object, the opening power of objects or reliance, because it's the same. That is one. The second is opening power of the regret. And they say how powerful your purification becomes, it depends on how sincere your regret is. How sincerely your regret is, how powerful your regret is. Again, that is why here the way purification works, it has to come from your side, because it depends on how strong and how sincere you are about your regret. And also resolutions, the next one, how strong your resolution is. So it comes more from your side. Those two are the most powerful factors in the purifications. If you don't have sincere regret, the Buddha cannot just say you are free of negative karma. It doesn't work that way. We can visualize cleansing, purifying, all of that, and Buddha being very pleased and saying, you are completely purified. But if your regrets and resolution are not strong, not sincerely, then again, just by that step, it doesn't, we cannot purify completely. So I think those are important factors that I think, your negative karma is not being purified from the external objects, is being purified mainly from your side. It has to come from your side. So regret, I try to differentiate two kinds of regret. Positive regret and negative regret. Negative regret is you regret about something that you did in the past, mistake, something wrong, fault. But your mind gets stuck with the past and cannot move forward, cannot let it go. Your mind is tied up with the past. Whatever past mistake you made, whatever past negative karma you have created, whatever fault we might have made it, we think of that and we regret it and we are stuck with that past. We cannot move forward. Your mind is stuck with the past, cannot let it go. That I say that is negative regret. Positive regret is you acknowledge mistake as a mistake, negative karma as a negative karma, unwholesome action as unwholesome actions, something not helpful, beneficial, something harmful. You understand that, you acknowledge that, you feel bad about that, regret about that, but then you are ready to move forward. You don't get stuck with the past. You move forward. That is positive regret. And this is the regret that we talk here in terms of four opponent power is the positive regret, which is healthy. That regret helps you to move forward and it helps you to make the changes. Whatever things that you need to improve, whatever things that we need to change to get better ourselves, to improve ourselves, that regret, the positive regret, help us to do that, to move in that directions. So it's healthy. It drives you, it directs you in a positive directions, for positive changes, for positive transformations. Whereas the negative regret, which a lot of time people have, is that they're stuck with the past. They cannot just let it go and cannot move forward. They get stuck with the past. So, and that is important to understand, acknowledge, and to understand and acknowledge mistake as a mistake. If we don't do that, then it's hard to have transformation and change. It's just like when someone needs help, people who have problem with addictions or any kind of problems, The first thing is recognize their problem and acknowledge that problem. If they don't recognize problem as problem, they wouldn't seek help. They wouldn't seek help from themselves or help from others, because they think they don't need help, because they think they don't have problems. The first thing is recognizing problem as a problem and acknowledging that. And when you recognize whatever problem that is as a problem and acknowledge, and then that leads to the next step of asking for help. Whether asking for help from yourself or asking help from someone else. In the same way, so it helps you to move in that directions for the transformations. And so that is crucial, that is important, that's crucial and important to change, our unhealthy behavior, our unhealthy attitude, our unhealthy, habits, our unhealthy thoughts, to give up them and to change, to have more healthy thoughts, to have more healthy behavior, action, all of that. First, recognize that this is something unhealthy, is something, helpful, instead is harmful. Recognizing and acknowledging, that is the first path, or the first kind of steps. So that is where the regret comes. That is the way the regret comes. The role this healthy regret play, that first steps. And the second is, and of course, in order to have a stronger regret, then, again, the more stronger your understanding and belief in the karma, the law of cause and effect, the karmic consequences, the more stronger regret you have. The more stronger regret you have. It's like we have broken a certain law, and where there is a big, fine or, for breaking, and before you didn't know, how bad it was, how bad is to break that law was. And as you study more about that law, you begin to say, oh, that was not something small that I did. I could be in a big trouble. I could end up in big troubles. And the more you understand that, the more stronger regret you have with your actions. Before you didn't read the law, you didn't understand law, you think, oh, it's a small things. Or maybe you can get over it, or even you kind of get caught, it wouldn't be a big things. And you become kind of a little bit more careless, and maybe even not so much regret. But once you start to read more, study, and you begin to find, oh, it's not something small, it's quite serious. And then the regret become more strong. And same here, meditating on emptiness. Not emptiness, meditating on karma, so that can help, how when you don't really contemplate, sometimes it seems not so big deal, but if you think deeply on all different results that one negative karma can bring, ripening result, similar result in terms of action, similar result in terms of experiences, and environmental result and so forth. When you think with each of those, how each of those negative karma could have also many different results in so many different ways, then you begin to understand how each of those can be quite serious, and not to take it too lightly. Not to take it too lightly and understand more seriously. At the moment, we take it too lightly and we are not so serious because we don't really understand. We haven't really understand the whole. Even we understood on our head, we haven't understood on experiential level, and so therefore again, sometimes we take it too lightly and not as serious. And so because of that, then regret is also not strong. The regret is also not strong, So therefore, in order to have strong regret, then meditating on karma can be powerful, helpful to have that strong regret. And then next step after regret is a resolutions, not to do it again, cultivating a strong determinations, making strong mental firm commitments or resolutions not to engage in them again in the future, not to make the mistake again. And there are two versions on that practice, two approach, you can say, two approach. And again, you can see a lot of practice have many approach, and we just have to see what helps you more, what is more powerful, more effective to oneself. One approach that you can see in Pabonga Rinpoche's writing, as well as many other teachers says, for those that easy to refrain from, we try to make a strong commitment not to then again at all in the futures. Those negative karma which is very difficult to refrain from, and we know probably might not be able to refrain from, because then we say, I will not try to engage, as much as I can, or for maybe next 24 hours, and I will try my best, at least for, as much as I can, year or month or week or days or hours, that kind of resolutions or from commitments in that way is one approach. And some others approach, some other teachers, they say, even though we might not be able to refrain completely, because we know we are still ordinary beings, still our mind is not strong, our practice are not strong, and it will require time till we can really refrain completely. But when we do the purification, that time at least we make, I will not do it at all, making that strong commitments, instead of saying as much as I can, but really making, I will not do it, at least while you are doing the practice. And His Holiness the Lama mentioned about that, and he mentioned that Ling Rinpoche, his tutor, about giving that kind of instructions or that approach. So you can see there's two approach, and so again, that is one thing I find beauty of the Dharma or practice is they are not kind of what you call the word I'm not. They are flexible, they are not so rigid. That was the word I want. Yeah, they are not always rigid. As long as we don't lose the main essence of that, there are different way of doing it, and we have to find which particular approach is more suitable for ourselves, and then trying to do that, and mm. So that is the resolutions, the opponent. And fourth one is opponent power of the remedy, the antidote. In terms of the antidote remedies, then, in many of the Lamrim teachings, as I mentioned, that which is kind of the source coming from Shantideva, and the Shantidevas are coming source from the different source of sutras. Basically, in order for, so with that kind of refuge, bodhicitta, and regret, and then resolutions, and then cultivating a strong regret to all the negative karma we have created, and resolution not to do that. And so in order to purify, then engage in any virtues. Any virtues is remedy. Any virtuous actions, any virtuous practice is the remedy, antidote. And then among different virtues and remedy, then in Lamrim and Shantideva, they say there's kind of describes 6 more powerful form of antidotes. And in that, it's relying on the name, relying on the mantras. So relying on the name means the practice of purifications through the practice of 35 Buddhas. Or other Buddhas. Normally. In most of the traditions in Tibetan Buddhism, all 4 lineage, they do the practice of 35 Buddhas. And especially in our lineage, Lama Tsongkhapa himself, when he did the practice of purification, he also did that 35 Buddhas. And if you can combine that 35 Buddha practice with prostrations, even more powerful, purifications. Of course, what you find, even though, Dharma is more mental, Dharma is, the practice of Dharma is more mental, but also when we can use our body, speech to something positive, not only the mind, why not use it? So, not only using the mind, but we have this speech that we use. We can use our speech for virtue, something positive. Our actions, also physical actions, can be also used for virtues. And so that is, so like reciting the name of 35 Buddhas, so you use the speech, prostration using the bodies, and then in your mind with a strong faith and devotion to 35 Buddhas by recollecting their incredible qualities, enlightened qualities, as well as cultivating the strong regret, recollecting our own negative karma and with the regret and all of that. And when you do that, then that is when we use our body, speech, and mind for purifications on that, So anyway, so that is rely on the name, rely on the mantras, and that is, the practice of the purification of Vajrasattva. While you recite the Vajrasattva mantras, Of course, there are certain visualizations related with that practice, you know. Of course, again, the 4 opening power, we go through the 3 opening power before. And after 3 opening power, as a opening power of antidote for the purification here, then we use the Vasasadhavas image and the mantras and the visualizations as a support for that, you know. And so that is relying on the mantras. That's purification. Again, you know, whether you do 35 Buddha, you know, Vasasadhava or any others deities for your purifications, you know, when we do the purifications, you know, you try to visualize from the heart of the deity, you know, and the syllable letters and the garlands from the mantras, white light nectar flow into oneself, and like taking a shower, you know, flush, cleanse, purify all our negative karma. You know, you can imagine and visualize that doing, you know, just like when you flush the toilet, you know, all boom, you know, it just kind of flush away all the dirts. You know, in the same way, you can imagine being completely flushed, completely clean, purify. Mm. And then receiving the blessings, you know, you when clean, purified, flush, you know, and you imagine, visualize yourself become crystal clear without any trace of any negativities, any negative karma, any, you know, delusions, obscuration, especially whatever negative karma that we are trying to purify, you know, completely been cleansed. And then you can visualize receiving the the blessings of enlightened body, speech, and mind, you know. Mm, in spiritual realizations. And so that is, you can try to do it with any deity, and especially, of course, Vajrasattva and 35 Buddha practice. You can try to apply that. And in terms of that visualizations, you find, you know, sometimes descriptions of light, sometimes you find nectar, sometimes you find both, you know, like Hiruga Vajrasattva, mostly you do the light, you know. And again, in Hiruga that you mentioned, you know, is more kind of the light, instant kind of purifications. And because Mother Tandara, which Hiruga is related with more, emphasize more on the wisdom, clear light wisdom, you know, and the light and the wisdoms, clearing the ignorance has more symbolic in that. And so in some and nectar is, you know, in some commentary they explain, you know, the light related with the wisdom and the nectar related with the method. And so when you do the both light and nectar, then, you know, is visualizing both the wisdom path as well as the method path. And so in most of the purification, then, you know, you do the both light and nectars, you know. But again, and then I don't think I need to go so much detail. There is a, you know, also different visualization in Vajrasattva's, you know, kind of cleansing backward, downwards, upwards, instant, you know. Again, you don't have to do each of them in one sessions. Sometimes you can do the downward, sometimes you can do the upward, sometimes you can do the instant purifications. Or maybe someone, you relate more to one of them, you know, more easily than others. and you just try to rely on that. Sometimes you see so many different ways of doing a lot of things. It doesn't mean you have to do all of them. Sometimes we just try to find what works for me better, what particular method you try, and see, oh, this particular method is more effective for me. And that particular method, I have sometimes we have little kind of struggles, some struggles, or not so effective, or not strong, connect so strongly. But that method could affect someone more strongly and have a more connection with someone more. And so again, sometimes we just have to try and see what works better for us, and then you can try to do that yourself, and you don't have to worry about all the other method, And when you get bored with one method, then you can try the other ones. Oh, I've been doing this and I feel like I'm doing the same and it's boring, Maybe you try something, the other one, maybe it might give you a little bit of boost, maybe sometimes, Not because of the method itself, because of our mind, because of our mind, the materialistic mind. Even when we come to the spiritual, we still have that materialistic mind, even in the spiritual. We want to try something new. We want to learn something new all the time. Oh, this is something I've heard so many times. Oh, this is something I've studied so many times. Oh, this is something I've practiced so many times. I want something exciting, something new. And new, there is some excitement at the very beginning, then that excitement goes. Again, what is there? Something new excites me. What is it there? Something new, And with the practice, also sometimes like that. So with the different, different technique of practice meditation, sometimes when you bore with one, sometimes maybe you can try the others, also too, And then in that, also relying on the sutras. And so that means reciting the sutras as the purifications, as the antidotes, And of course, all kind of sutras, but especially, I think like the Prasanaparamita sutras, Heart sutras, Dhammakata sutras, and all other Prasanaparamita sutras related can be powerful antidotes for that. And not only reciting, if you can contemplate a little bit on emptiness as well, then of course it will be even more powerful, the subject of the sutras, And then also in part of that antidote, there is a meditation on emptiness, one of them. And meditation on emptiness, in general, especially you try to meditate on the emptiness of the negative karma itself, emptiness of yourself who have created the negative karma, and the emptiness of the action of creating, So meditating on the three sphere of that negative karma, So meditating on emptiness of negative karma itself, so that you don't get too overwhelmed. Do you get it? Sometimes when we think of our negative karma, it might overwhelm us. It feels the whole sky is falling on you. When we think of all the possible negative karma, not only negative karma that we can recollect from this life, but when you think of countless beginnings, lifetime, and all kind of that, sometimes it feels like, and so again, in the meditation on emptiness of that can make it a little bit more lighter and the relief of being overwhelmed by that, And then, so anyway, so meditating on emptiness, and especially emptiness of negative karma itself, the act of creating, so that you don't have strong clinging, grasping to that actions and the person that you are, who has created or creating. So, and then another practice that is as an antidote that is advice is, creating holy objects, as a purifications. So that means whether you create yourself or you contribute towards the creations of, building a holy objects, stupas, statues, centers, monasteries, Dharma books, all kind of those holy objects that can be great help, benefit, inspirations for a lot of people and their practice. So again, yeah, and there are many stories, in the Sembu in Nepal, there is one big stupa, Sembhunath, known as Monkey Temple, which I don't know whoever gave that name, because there's a lot of monkeys around that. So, and people hear about Monkey Temple, then sometimes they think it's a Hindu temple, the monkey god, they have the Hanuman. They thought it's a Hanuman temple, it's a Buddhist temple, but because there are a lot of monkeys around there, so normally you will find in the tourist guide whatever monkey temple, but it's Sembhunath. And around that, there is a big Guru Rinpoche's statues built, and it is the person who built has engaged in some kind of, unethical business or something, and he regretted later. And the Lama, his teachers, Lama, advised him as a purifications to create that holy objects. So he did that, So there are many stories where many holy objects were built, by the advice of some lamas, teachers, for certain individuals which they have engaged in some strong negative karma in the past, and they regret it, and they want to do kind of purify them, and they were advised to do that. So those are the kind of that, and then as a purification, I think the other one is making offering to the holy objects, the 3 jewels. So those are the 6 that you find as recommended or advised to engage as a objects of opinion power, of remedy or antidotes. Okay. And those are again based on Shantideva, which is based on the sutras. In different sutras, Buddha gave those different practice to different individuals for their purifications. But it is not only those 6, there are many others, but those are more common that Shantideva found within the different source of sutra. He found those 6 kind of being more kind of like common practice that was given. But of course, there are as mentioned at the very beginning, any virtuous actions, so practicing charity, generosity, as a purifications, can be purifications, antidote too, doing certain retreat as a purifications can be antidote, So again, any virtuous actions, I think that, so that those are the kind of the opening power, and any of 6 virtues that is recommended here, advised here, or any other virtuous practice apart from those 6, whatever virtuous practice you engage into, the main point is that for purification to work as a purification, the way it is described, then having the complete practice of four opening powers become the important factor, because we do engage in many virtuous action, but a lot of time four opening power are not there. So without that, of course, is a virtuous actions. We are creating positive karma. We are creating cause and condition for, better futures, in this life, in futures, creating cause and condition for our practice, spiritual progress, all of that, and also some level of purification. But in order to work as full purification, as a specific kind of full purification practice, then you need the four condition or factor for opening power has to be there. Okay. So yeah, we will have a break. Chanjo semjo rimbo che makebana gejo che kyawa nyamba mebaya kong le kong du pe wa sho. and the negative karma being purified, you know. Of course, you know, from the Buddhist point of view, from our tradition, it is, and that is why Buddha gave that purification practices. It wasn't possible. There was no meaning of giving those practices. And in Arjuna's, you know, he mentions, you know, whoever was once reckless, may later become, you know, regret, you know, and through the practice, you know, they are being purified and they are as calmly as the cloudless moon, just like Nanda, Angulimala, Ananda, Sadhguru, and Shankaras. So what he's saying is just as the moon that has been obscured can be, that cloud can be clear and then you can see moon without any obscurations. In the same way, even our mind might be obscured by all negative karma at the moment. Having created so many negative karma in the past, it might have been obscured by those negative karma at the moment. But again, when someone really regret in their practice, in their negative karma, and when they really engage in this practice truly, then those can be clear and see the true nature of your mind without any obscurations, just like a moon, clear moons. You know, and then he gives some example of certain individuals at the Buddha's time. Angulimala was someone who had killed more than 900, he killed 999 people, you know, and later he met the Buddha, you know, and then under the guidance and care of Buddha, you know, he liberated all his past negative karma of all his killings. And with that true regret, you know, he transformed and he followed the path. And through the practice, he was able to purify all of those negative karma and to achieve, you know, arhat even in one lifetime, even in that very lifetime. If someone who had killed 999 human beings, and when someone, even with that, when they sensibly, truly regret later what they have done, and truly engage in the practice sincerely, it's possible to be able to purify all of that. If it is not possible to purify all negative karma, then there's no way he can achieve arhat. He's only able to achieve those arhat because he was able to purify all the negative karma. And then not only that, of course, many other practices. And so again, that is one of the examples here now, the larger using. If he can be purified all his such negative, heavy negative karma, when someone engages sensibly, of course, we can also, we have the same potentials if we practice, if we sensibly regret, sensibly practice. Another he used example here, Ajanta Sadhguru was a prince at the time of Buddha who killed his father directly and then his mother indirectly, because his mother died because of his father's death. You know, and again, you know, he wanted to rule, as you see many in all the histories, you know, and in order to rule himself, you know, then he took his father's life to become the king, you know, and in, you know, conventional teachings, killing your parents is one of the heaviest negative karma, killing father, mothers, arhat, um, dividing the sanghas and wounding the Tathagatas, those are known as sometimes uninterrupted negative karma, or most heaviest negative karma. And so he created one of those karma, But again, later, he regretted that, what he had done. And he also, in the beginning of his life, he was not so interested in that. His father was actually a patron of benefactor was the Buddha and his followers, He was, but later he regretted for what he had done. And then, again, he followed the Buddha and practiced. And again, he was one again who achieved Arya. I think he achieved in that very lifetime. I think the Gunshu stream enterer, and that's kind of Arya beings, and it's very high stages. That we have achieved already the path of seeing, at least, So again, if and then some of them, others who has a very strong attachments. One of them, known for any kind of person at that time in terms of attachment, that was the example of the so much strong attached persons, and again the others ignorance. So Angulamala, because of anger, that is why he killed all many of that. So even though they had so much of those strong negative emotions, one strong craving or attachment, one with strong anger, one with strong ignorance, and with each of those that they engage in such a heavy negative karmas. And even they have engaged such negative karma, later part of their life, they regretted all of them, and they sincerely follow the path, and they really practice, and thereby they were able to purify, not only purify, achieve very high level of realizations. And so if that is possible, again, here in Nagarjuna, we all have that potential possible if we do that. And you can also take an example of Milarepa, Milarepa, earlier his life, he took a lot of lives, many lives. But then again, later he regretted. And then again, he entered the path. And then not only he is one of the greatest masters, among the Tibetan masters, one of the known example of someone who achieved enlightenment in one lifetimes, There is a stories of some of his disciples saying, to him, you must be, reincarnation of a highly realized being, That is what we always try to see your gurus. Sometimes we kind of exaggerate, sometimes, So some of his students said, with all the practice, all the accomplishment he have accomplished, it seems like it's not possible for ordinary beings. Seems like it's not possible for ordinary beings. They felt he must be some, reincarnations or already highly developed. And then Milarepa kind of I don't know the scold is the right word, but, almost like scolding, he said, that is, Gurdev is, what do you call, when you, like, you say something which is real to be unreal, unreal to be real. So what would that be? Lie? It's a lie, but I think there is a different word. Gurdev is, like wrong.
Not true.
Yeah, maybe I will use that word. He said, criticizing, not that is, he said almost like, it is like almost like criticizing the karma, cause and effect. He said, you are indirectly saying all the hardship I went, all of that is nothing. I was just showing up and it's not real. Do you get it? That is what he was saying. He's saying is a result of all his hardship, all the practice. And now you are just kind of saying this is all from the past, and I'm just kind of showing this aspect of all the hardship and going through it. I'm not really going through all this hardship.
Maybe diminishing or deprecating.
Maybe deprecating, maybe the.
What's be a Geshe in the previous life, Milarepa?
Milarepa?
Yeah.
Well, that is what he said to his disciples. Maybe even in Geshe doesn't necessarily mean enlightened beings. Okay, just means they have studied more. Okay, so Geshe doesn't mean enlightened. Forget our fully enlightened. It doesn't even mean that in terms of realizations or path, doesn't mean much. It's just a kind of how much you have studied is more to do with that. And so even he was a Geshe, but definitely that is what he said. He said that's a deprivation for the law of cause and effect, the karma. Is this a result of all the hardship I went through, and is a result. And now you are saying all the hardships are nothing, indirectly, meaning because you are already kind of. And so I find that kind of very powerful, very powerful. Sometimes, if all this, or if all those great beings or example in our life, if they're already enlightened being all the time, then where is anyone in those times who is not unenlightened and becoming enlightened? All the gurus are already enlightened from a long time, all time. And so who is there now who has achieved enlightenment from the very beginning to be an example for us to be? And for me, that was very powerful, more inspiring to see someone very ordinary, not only ordinary, who engaged in such a harmful, negative karma at the very beginning of his life, but when they truly regret and when truly embrace the Dharma and truly practice, how much you can achieve, how much you can get there. So those are some of the examples, that we can think of, and then even in some teachings from the Tantra, the Buddha said, even though I don't remember the name, the title of the text, and as well as the exact words, but there is saying, if you do the purifications of 100 syllables, which is the Vatsala purifications. If you do the purifications with 100 syllables, 100,000, there's no doubt that all the negative karma will be purified. And even you can't do it if you recite 21 each day, at least it will minimize from increasing the negative karmas. So definitely there is that statement from one of those Buddhas from the Tantric teachings. Again, in terms of the teaching sources of course, we have to take those practice, can't take everything just literally, just reciting just itself, but it for opening power and many conditions coming together. When all these come together, then that's how it can be purified completely. It is just reciting like a parrot, then of course it still has some effect, but it cannot purify all the negative karma completely. Some benefit by the power of the objects, some benefit, but it cannot purify completely. So when in those teachings, when you recite 100,000, then it will completely purify. It doesn't just mean just merely reciting the word, with proper understanding. When you are the proper practice with all the conditions of that for opening power and all the conditions, then with that, then it can be purified completely. That is what it means. Okay, so therefore, yeah, through purification, definitely those can be purified. Of course, sometimes we wonder whether purification really works. I've been doing Vaishnava practice for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 10 years, or I have done 3-month retreat on Vajrasattva's 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, but doesn't seem anything change. Sometimes we might wonder that. First of all, changes happen very subtle way. Change doesn't always happen. It's not like you plant a seed and then tomorrow you see it already growing. Sometimes it takes months, years before you started to see them growing. But it's still the process of growing inside. There's something happening. Nothing's happening. Same way, sometimes, the transformation, the effect is very subtle. And sometimes we are not very aware of that. Sometimes we might be aware of small changes, small things. Sometimes we might not be aware of that. And sometimes, because the changes are so subtle, and sometimes we cannot see the effect of that, how much negative karma. The problem is that we cannot physically see the negative karma, how much we have before purification and after purification, how much it has been reduced or not reduced. That is not something physical, something we cannot see. So sometimes it's hard to evaluate in that way. And for us, when we cannot see that way, when you cannot evaluate, then sometimes we have more difficult of understanding that. And again, the purifications, should be done, until we are free from all the delusions. It's not like you have done 3 months retreat, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, you continue to do it because even you have purified all the negative karma because we are constantly creating new ones. As long as our delusions, we are creating new ones all the time. Until you reach a point where you are not creating anymore. When you reach that point, when there's no more delusions. So therefore, continue to do regardless whether we have done all this, the preliminary or not. We continue to do the purification, integrate practice in our everyday life, and try to practice. It's not, I've done it now. Now I'm going to move somewhere and I don't need to do that. When you reach a point when you have no more delusion, then maybe you can say that is the point, because you are not creating anymore. That reminds me one stories, not related to this one, but because we were talking about also before the open-end power of the antidotes and different practice. One time, Buddha gave, there is one Arya Lamchung, he came to become a monk when he was much more later, his brother was already was monk and very bright, very sharp. But he was not sharp, his mind was very, very dull, extremely dull, But he wanted to be a monk. He wanted to join that, and then he came and he joined, and then they give you one teacher to teach him, and the teacher taught him for some months and give up, because his mind was so dull, he couldn't learn much, he couldn't make any progress. And the teacher gave up because he didn't see any way that he can help him to prove, because in those months that he had taught, he didn't see any kind of progress. And then his brothers tried to teach him. Again, his brother gave up after some months, and say, there's nothing I can help you, because after some months, at least you should see even small progress, that they cannot see. He couldn't make any progress in his studies because his mind was so dull. And so there was no one who was willing to take on him because it was kind of hopeless. Nobody felt that they can help him. And he was very disappointed and very sad and crying, And then suddenly Buddha showed up and asked him what happened. And he explained, I'm hopeless. Everyone's giving on me, I cannot, I'm so bad. I'm so dull. There's no way I can make any progress, And Buddha said, don't worry. I will help you. Don't worry, I will help you. I will take over my, under me, and I will help you. And then what Buddha did was he didn't teach him a lot of things, trying to teach him a lot of things. What he said is, at the very beginning, he asked him to clean the monk's sandal, and say, clean the monk's sandals. And then give him two prayers or words to recite, cleaning the dirt, cleaning the stain. Say, you recite I'm cleaning the dirt, I'm cleaning the stain, and you clean those sandals of the monks. And Buddha also advised the monks, saying them, you have to give him the opportunity to clean your sandal. He need that. He need that. You have to let him do that, and also help him to recite and remember, I'm cleaning the stain, I'm cleaning the dirt. So because of that, then so he started to recite that and clean it. Of course, sometimes he forgets, sometimes he remembers, and then the monks help him to remember that. Every monk who meet him try to help him to remember that, and he tried to do that. And then after some time, Buddha said, now next, clean the area around the monastery where the sanghas are living, the place. And again, reciting that. And of course, when he do that, he was always thinking that I'm cleaning the dirt and stain of this sandal. I'm cleaning the dirt and stain of this, whatever he's cleaning, the leaves, whatever dirt there was. And after some time, he had one of those aha moment. He has one of those aha moment. Something just click in his mind. Something ding ding. And this I've been reciting, I've been thinking, I'm cleaning all this dirt. Buddha is not talking about this external dirt. He's talking about the internal dirt. Cleaning the internal dirt of attachment, cleaning the dirt of internal dirt of anger, ignorance. That is what he's saying about. The stain, he's not talking about the external stain, he's talking about internal stain, the imprint left by those delusions. Without being taught. Buddha didn't taught anyone taught, but so through that kind of practice, he purified, through that purifications or cleaning, all of that, with that practice, purify his mind or his, obscurations. And when his mind was purified or obscurate something, suddenly just click. And from that moment, he started to make much more progress very quickly. And he achieved Arhat later. And he became another great example within the Sangha. Someone with such a dull mind can become an Arhat. Someone with such a, not a sharp mind, but even with such a dull mind, that someone actually can become an Arhat. And so again, that kind of, that was again how the purification worked, And sometimes for him, even him, it didn't like the moment he started to clean, a moment it doesn't click him up like that immediately, It took long time for have that click of that moment. And that moment was the start. That was not the end. Do you get it? That was the start. That was like the spark. Even to have that spark of that, it took him long time through all this practice, purification practice. And with that, then he had that small moment of spark. And that was that moment of spark started opening the door for all other more practice and more realizations. And then eventually he was able to achieve that. So sometimes we want to, we expect, immediately some kind of big result, Sometimes we might have those sparks. Sometimes we are not even aware of those sparks. you know. And a lot of practitioners, you know, even they might not have a high realization, but after some of those preliminary practices or whatever, you know, purification, they have those kind of spark of the moments, you know, where strong inspiration started to come. Sometimes they are able to keep, they have that spark, and then they are able to work on that, and sometimes people lose the momentum, you know, cannot keep that spark going on, and then they cannot keep that momentum, and they lose the direction, and then it doesn't lead to where. But the starting spark was started from that as a sign of some sign of that purifications or whatever practice, you know. And different, sometimes people feel, you know, kind of strong devotion that they have never felt. Some feel, you know, incredibly peace, open, spacious, you know, different kind of experiences. They started to have feeling spark, a moment of those spark, you know. And so again, and sometimes we expect immediately then you are fully already enlightened, you know, and it doesn't happen like that, you know. It doesn't happen like that. Again, that is not understanding cause and conditions, you know. The way cause and conditions, you know, works is take time. With the time it works. It's not like you plant something and then today you plant the seed, and next, in a very short days, you know, you have the full big trees. You know, even for trees, it takes, you know, years and years. So that is a little bit on purifications and whether it can be purified. And so from all this perspective, from when we think of all of that, then it indicates that it can be purified. It can be purified. Yeah. Okay. So maybe I will take some questions. Any questions? Yes. Here, there too.
Geshe,
Yes.
you mentioned about changes. If someone has been practicing for a while, how can she or he knows that she or he has made some changes, whether improve or not improve? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, sometime I think for some people it is more easy and they might be more obvious, you know. Before maybe they have issued anger. After practicing now, they have less issued anger. They are able to do better. I've met some, I have some friends who had a big issued anger. And that is what actually brought them to the Dharma. The anger was such a big issue that he was having a difficulty with everyone. His friend didn't want him to invite to any of gatherings because he started getting an argument and then fight, ruin the whole environment. So they are gathering for a fun, and then you start with some small discussion, argument, and it turned into big things. And because he was an anger issue, and so they started to uninvite him, and he became kind of alone by himself. He understood, and then he saw that it was problems. So he Googles, you know, and then he found something about Buddhism about that. And that is how he came into the contact with the Buddhism. And over the years, you know, after practicing walking, he have, you know, it doesn't mean he doesn't have anger at all, but it is not a big issue anymore. You know, he can control, and it's not out of control. And that is for him, that was very, very clear signs that he have improved. You know, so in that way, so many people, you know, another friends, who had a very difficult relationship with the mothers, and then again coming to the Dharmas, that opened her mind, heart, and she started to feel kindness of mother, which she couldn't feel before, and then she started to kind of interact better, and the relationship become really good. And his mother, who was a Christian, even thanked the teachers for giving her daughter back, because after meeting the Dharma, and she changed, and then the way she treated her mom was totally different. So like that, different people can see different changes, transformations in so many different ways. Some with anger issues, some with those kind of things, some with that, different things. But for some people, it might be a little more difficult because it might not be as obvious problem that happening in that. But sometimes the change can be subtle, and sometimes it's subtle. We don't recognize ourselves, and sometimes people around you recognize. I have a friend, who felt that he didn't make any progress or didn't see much changes in himself after practicing for a few years. But his children and people around noticed that. His children said, Papa, you used to yell a lot. Now you don't yell as much as before you used to yell. So for him, maybe he might not have noticed those small changes, but the children observe and see that. They see the changes in that, And another time, one of friends again, asked me, he doesn't feel or see hardly any changes that he feels after having practiced for some years. So then I asked him some questions. Do you, every morning, do you think of all sentient beings? And yeah, he says, I try to think of all sentient beings, trying to generate motivation for all sentient beings, And do you try to dedicate for all sentient beings? And yeah, I try to dedicate. And I said, did you think of all sentient beings before you met the Dharma? He said, no. Do you ever try to dedicate for all sentient beings before you come Dharma? No. This is a change. This is something you do everything. Now it feels like it's routine. Or let's say it has become your routine or something normal. But it wasn't that before that. So coming to the Dharma and studying that has make you more conscious of other sentient beings, white beings. Even you can't see much, you are more conscious. You are not only one, there's many sentient beings aware, and whether you are able to, in action, able to really help, benefit or not, at least in your mind, you are more aware of them and you have concern for them. You try to have that and you try to dedicate all of that. That is, for me, that is a change. So, there are so many different ways that normally we might not see, but there are so many different ways that actually we can observe and see, certain changes, a lot of things. Sometimes we forget because this is something have become more normal way of doing things, routine for your last 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you think that is how you are brought up from the very beginning. But that wasn't how you used to think before that you met the Dharma. And so that means that is change. And that is positive change. So I think there are so many different ways of looking at it, to evaluate. And sometimes we try to see big changes, and sometimes that might be difficult. Big changes might not happen, big transformation might not, but small, subtle changes. Yeah, yes.
guess I really, well, I don't know the answer, but I'll ask it anyway. Can you hear me?
Yes.
If over the years you feel like you've done quite a lot of Dharma work, say, or Dharma studies that you haven't, afterwards you feel you haven't actually dedicated it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still sitting there, can you still dedicate it? You look back?
Yes. Yes, you can still dedicate. Absolutely.
That's what I thought, but I just sort of last.
Yeah. Absolutely. You can still dedicate, Probably there are many virtues, that had not been destroyed, and there is so much to dedicate and multiply and all of that from the past and increase through that dedication. So you can, even we have not dedicated every day, even though we forgot to dedicate every day, even though we forgot to dedicate after doing something, virtuous actions, service, practice, whatever, we can dedicate any time later. We can dedicate all of that later. And that is why, like even in our dedications that Rinpoche put together, and also many others practice, that is where when we dedicate, due to all the virtues, merit that create Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, others, and oneself in the past, present, future. So we can always dedicate our past virtues all the time. Yeah. Any questions, others? Whether it's online or in person? Yes, there. This.
Geshe, when it comes to dedication, I know that in FPMD we have a very long few paragraphs dedication. But if you're short of time and we need to do a quick one every day, what is the shortest that we can do?
Shortest is Om. Again, even with many of dedications, even part of sadhana or practice and all of that, you don't have to feel you have to do everything. You can do one verse. That is okay. Sometimes what I see, sometimes when people see the sadhanas or any practice put together, they feel if they don't do everything, then they are doing wrong or not doing correctly. There's a way to kind of, when you have time, expand it, add more in that. When you have less time, you do that. When you have less time, you can even squeeze some of them in terms of, there might be many dedication prayer, you can just try to do one. And again, normally Lama Tsongkhapa mentioned 3 dedications, dedicating for all sentient beings, dedicating for, enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings is one, and then dedicating for the flourish of Dharma, because the Dharma is a root of happiness of all sentient beings, and then, dedicating for, the long life, the gurus who carry those teachings, But so any of them are considered as a great dedications, Lama Tsongkhapa explained. So if you dedicate for, enlightenment, for the benefit of all sentient beings, then that would be, short dedication that you can do. In that dedications, you dedicate for enlightenment, but not only for yourself, but for all sentient beings. So all sentient beings included in there, for the benefit of all sentient beings, dedicating for the enlightenment. And that can be just when you have just that. Or, it depends on individual too, what they are working on, Someone's working on their bodhicitta, then dedicating for the bodhicitta, because that is something they are working hard on achieving that, realizing that. Or if you are working with the emptiness, dedicating for emptiness. It depends on also, in your part of your life or your practice where you are trying to focus and emphasize and where you are trying to kind of make progress. So again, dedicating something related with that can be also, so again, it can be, and dedicating in a correct way is powerful, as many teachings says, one way, in one, dedicating is kind of protecting your virtues from being destroyed. Our virtues, merit, can be destroyed by negative energies such as anger and a wrong view. But when you dedicate for enlightenment or for all sentient beings, then the anger and wrong view cannot destroy that virtue completely. It can damage a little bit, but it cannot destroy completely. And so therefore it's a way of protecting the virtues that merit that we have already created from being destroyed by others. It's also a way of kind of multiplying, to have more, like depositing and have more interest, earning more interest, is a way of also doing that, protecting as well as increasing, multiplying the virtues, and of course is also practice of generosity, because you dedicate not for just yourself, for all other beings, other sentient beings. So whatever virtues, whatever merit, whatever positive karma you have, you want to share with others, you want to give to others, you want to dedicate for others. So, and therefore, Lama Adisha, I think in his garland of jewel, he says, there are two things important to do, beginning and end. And that is what he means. Beginning, have bodhicitta motivations. Whatever practice we do, try to have bodhicitta motivation. At the end, then try to end with the right dedications for the well-being of all sentient beings, for enlightenment, for the well-being of all sentient beings, for example. So, those are part of important. Okay, any other questions? If not, then we will do, a little recitation, a few mantras. Just wanted to, His Holiness Dalai Lama's older brother, Gyalo Thindu, just seems to pass away. And so today morning, I guess. And so we can try to recite some Om Mani Padme Hum and a little bit of Medicine Buddha mantras, and dedicate for himself and all other sentient beings who have passed away in the last 49 days, for wherever they are in Pardo, to be free from whatever fear, suffering that there might be, and free from all the negative karma, and to have a peace, and to have better higher rebirth, that they can continue to follow in their journey to Dharma and actualize Dharma in their heart. Gyunje mogo zo sangye ge ula ge tuje chenge dola se chere segla cha cao. Om Mani Padme, 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 Om Mani Padme. Om Mani Padme, 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 Om Mani Padme. Om mani padme Hum, 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 mani padme Om mani padme Hum, 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 mani padme Om mani padme Hum, 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 mani padme Hum. We can imagine and send, Avalokiteshvara, the compassion Buddha, showing the path to them, and helping, guiding of their journey, Om mani padme Hum, 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 mani Om mani padme Hum, 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 mani Om mani padme Hum, 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 mani Om mani padme Hum, 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 mani Om mani padme Hum, 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 mani Om mani padme Hum, 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 mani padme Om mani padme Hum, 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 mani Om mani padme Hum, mani padme Hum, mani padme Hum, mani padme Hum, Om mani padme Hum. Gyawadi nyudo da chere sewang dupjo ne dowa checha maluba te sala kwe para sho changcho semcho rimbo che ma ke pa na ke kyo che Gyawa nyamba me ba kong le kong do pe wala. We also recite the medicine Buddha mantra a little bit for, again, Gelugten and all those who have passed away, as well as for all those who are experiencing illness, sickness, in the world. And again, it seems one of resident teachers, Geshe Onchen from New Zealand, he might have some physical health issues. Also, we can also keep him in our dedications. And again, so many other beings in the world who are not feeling well physically, some of them physical issues, some of them emotional, mental issues, all of them to be cured, recover, whatever treatments, them to be successful. And those who have passed away, all the negative karma, delusion, obscuration be cleansed, purified, and then have a perfect rebirth, and meet the Dharma, actualize Dharma in their heart, and achieve enlightenment. Tuje gu la nyam be chum de de chen zang zhen be nyan do dong a se du sun ne so sang ge men ye la ben do ra ye we la cha cha lo da da om be kan ze ma be kan ze ran ze sam ga de so da da om be kan ze ma be kan ze ran ze sam ga de so da da om be kan ze ma be kan ze ran ze sam ga de so da da om be kan ze ma be kan ze ran ze sam ga de so da da om be kan ze ma be kan ze ran ze sam ga de so da da om be kan ze ma be kan ze ran ze sam ga de so da da om be kan ze ma be kan ze ran ze sam ga de so da da om be kan ze ma be kan ze ran ze sam ga de so da da om be kan ze ma be kan ze ran ze sam ga de so da da om be kan ze ma be kan ze ran ze sam ga de so da da om be kan ze ma be kan ze ran ze sam ga de so da da om be kan ze ma be kan ze ran ze sam ga de so da da om be kan ze ma be kan ze ran ze sam ga de so da da om be kan ze ma be Adam bekende mavi bekende sus. Adam bekende mavi bekende sus. Da umbe kanze ma be kanze ranza samonga de so da umbe kanze ma be kanze ranza samonga de so da umbe kanze ma be ranza samonga de so yawa di nyudu da membe yabo de gyone jowa che ma le sa la kwe ba sho samje ne ba chenye ba nyudo ne le tado doye ne ma le ba tado chungwa me ba sho je se ke sa shi on ben sa de ke a hong chi ya bo re ba lang che chang da lu da lu ba nga ya she yun den da lam cho do da me ni da me ni de da rinpo che re wo pa sang ke shen de jo yo ba mo pa ye lo to ko lo rinpo che no bo rinpo che so mo rinpo che Lombo Rinpoche, Lombo Rinpoche, Tacho Rinpoche, Mawe Rinpoche, Dechen Baye Pumba, Ye Ma, Tenwa Ma, Lu Ma, Gara Ma, Mego Ma, Duwa Ma, Nase Ma, Teja Ma, Ni Ma, Dawa Rinpoche, Du Chole, Namba Gyave, Uso la da me pe jo pen son so ba ma chang wa me sang xie lo wa da jie ji de cao ya da yu ba ji be pa de la ma tang ba na e pa dui yang yang bo jie jie lo song tu wa lo jie chang chang wo le la chen be tope kade tara ge yudo shingang bo wa shu tuje do ye do shu so shene jang da so do wa nang ke ta da samje tamje la tukje wa chenbe go ne chenje la do ge zhōng shēn mē tō tā rē rā lēn shē nian dē gen bān dē Geshe to me de o endo namanda shin la te fa sho pa ke nama ye che kuen kala ken zen shu za do sa be do me sa sum yen do me se a do ne kyo je e tam goro rana mandala
For the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, page 9.
and Malupa Danje Joe Sambe Yeshe no Karin Some Genjin Yazo Jo Se Denjin Tu je lun do sho.
Fearless teacher.
Assembly or children of victorious Lord, Again, Brother Buddha, victorious Lord, Son, Father, and Son, along the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge and infinite light. Please be all the virtues and goodness accomplish this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the many precious and complete teaching. With explanation and practice, with the aim of patience that never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While the starting point lead for the sake of victorious one's teaching, the soul gateway through which all benefit, happiness emerge from mother living beings. You suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of blessings of ocean of three jewels and greater Buddhist children of victorious one, may their smile of reincarnation truly beam in glory for the fortune desire. The Dharma we are putting to the various disposition of those preceptive, made clear in the light of your old spoken redundant tradition, essence of Buddha's teaching. Foremost and holy Lama, to you who are supreme, make this prayer of supplication. Lama, please lead.
But just on behalf of everyone here today, just thank you so much for visiting sunny Perth from the whole winter of Europe. So Geshe, people don't know, had such a full-on schedule in Europe, and then really a long journey to get to here. So lots of hardship. Thank you so much, Geshe. I mean, for me personally, just I wasn't able to attend all of the teachings, but the little moments I would hear so accessible, such a profound topic as karma. Geshe was able to convey the profundity in an accessible way, which is just such a skill. We're not overwhelmed. We've got tools to go away with for opponent powers, etc. So and I think just such a rare thing in time and space for to be able to hear such a thing. If you consider the thousands of other things people are doing, yet here we are with such a scholar and able to present in such an accessible way. Just so fortunate. So please, Geshe, please come again. Please
Thank
stay
you.
and come again. That's always an option too. Yeah, please, yeah, on behalf of everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you.